episode. Shining the light on, Therese. Welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing pretty well. It's we just had now you guys are having fires in Canada, right?
Yeah, Western Canada, the province beside us, British Columbia.
So in British Columbia, the smoke was coming down
Mm.
to Washington State, and we had a couple days there where it was pretty gnarly. But thankfully it passed fairly quickly. How are you guys doing with that over there?
Luckily, here in Alberta, we're probably about 800 kilometers, about 600 miles from the fires, and we haven't really had a lot of wind blowing in this direction. So it hasn't actually impacted us that as it usually does. However, I know it's caused obviously a lot of havoc to the communities in the Kelowna area, the Shuswap area. They're very big lake country, so lots of beautiful mountain lakes, lots of forest. And then down in the Kelowna area, it's almost like a desert like because it gets to be 90, 100, 105 degrees in the summer
Wow.
and very dry. So of course, fires can spread very easily. And I feel like we have to have a little other conversation around that. But
Right.
if you tune out of the media and tune into the locals that actually live in the area, there's a lot of chatter that a lot of it was started on purpose and or fires that were stoked. However, they were stoked were then ignored for a few days and let get out of control because we know agendas that are going on. But it's
Right.
been really interesting. There's a lot going on in Canada right now, and I feel like it is to really get people to wake up and see that, the good old government does not have our backs and they're not, here to help you and your fellow neighbor out. So hence our conversation today about the Save Our Supplements and the supplement issue that is
Yes.
dropped on Canadians the last month or so.
I mean, I feel like personally, and this is just an opinion, but I feel like they're really hitting Canada hard to wake
Mm-hmm.
the people up there. They
Yeah.
really are trying to it's kind of a did you ever see the movie Inside Out? You know, the Pixar movie
Oh,
where the
yes.
girl with the feelings in her head. Do you remember how like in order to wake her up, they had to like give her a nightmare and that
Yeah.
would wake her up? I keep feeling like that's what we're kind of collectively going through is like
Yeah.
I need you to wake up and sweet dreams and nice things happening keep you asleep. So here's a nightmare scenario. And it works. It wakes people up, but it's really jarring. So getting back to what you're talking about, I just feel like the agenda for Canada is like, I don't know why there's something too comfy and cozy over there,
Yes.
and they need you guys to wake up.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Canadians have always been the nice, like, oh, sorry,
Right.
right?
Oh, and
Like,
yeah.
and it's good to be nice, but there's a difference between being nice and also being a bit assertive and like being in your power and sovereign and standing up. And so I think when we had the Freedom Convoy in the early winter of 2022, that was just incredible to see the country come together and how it impacted the world, and the energy was incredible.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was amazing. And now we're in the circumstance where Health Canada specifically wants to bring in more rigid and restrictive regulations for supplements, vitamins, herbs, homeopathy. Even my natural toothpaste and deodorant that I use these what are called I'll go to it right away, but NHPs. And essentially what they did back in 2008 is they brought in these regulations, essentially Health Canada, and they call them non-prescription health product numbers. And you have to go through vigorous consulting and review and et cetera to get your NPNs, essentially is what they're called. So it's not just supplements, like it's literally deodorants, it's toothpaste, it's natural health products. Because I've been looking at all of my stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, my deodorant has one. Oh my gosh, my toothpaste has one. So it's Bach flower remedies, it's flower essences. So it's essential oils in some cases.
Okay, so quick question. So is it like how in the United States we have, the rigorous procedures in order to be able to get the organic label?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Yeah.
similar to that? So they make every healthcare related product, and I mean like alternative health, not like Tylenol or you know. So this is natural toothpaste, like fluoride free,
Yeah. All
aluminum
natural
free.
ingredients. Yeah.
and they have to go through all this rigorous, basically paperwork just to get approved, to get an approval number. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so they already brought in some pretty intensive regulations about 15, 20 years ago, and now they want to amp that up essentially tenfold. And what this would do, of course, would really, really, really increase costs. So apparently behind the scenes, and we'll have to ask the cards this, they slipped it through last week or the week before. And apparently it's already changing. So companies are going to have to change packaging, which is a huge cost to rebrand and change your packaging.
Right.
$80,000 to $200,000 to pay for updated regulations to get your products. That's insane. Some of these companies may not even make that in a year, let alone have to now pay that. Right. And of course, not only that, but this could significantly increase the price of supplements, 5 times the cost. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go and spend $120 on a bottle of vitamin C, right? I'm not going to spend $500 on my probiotic. For most people, it's not going to be something that they're going to be able to afford or desire to spend the money on. And not only that, for each individual as the consumer, but then you're looking at these businesses. I have colleagues, friends, people that I know that have literally built supplement companies, food product companies,
right?
The deodorant, the toothpaste, were these are very popular sellers, and these are their businesses. And if they have to increase their prices 5 times, people are not going to spend $75 on a thing of natural deodorant or toothpaste, right? You wouldn't go to the restaurant and pay $500 for a salad. Right. So it's not only inhibiting the customer and the health of the customer, it's inhibiting the business owner, the person running the business, and also all the health food shops and stores with local natural supplement and healthcare products. So we see, and then the healthcare practitioners. I'm so grateful my business is not based on supplement recommendations alone, that there is a wide variety of things that I integrate into my support. And I'm so grateful that this is only in Canada, and that, clients in the States, or hopefully people would be, if this did happen, could order supplements from the States and get them shipped to them, right? All of our good old American friends and family can help us out. But I know there will always be a way, but it's significant, the impact that this has on the natural health community on all fronts. And of course, big pharma and the government and all of that do not want us to have such sovereignty over our health. Hence why we know this is coming. Of course, they say it's for your safety. We need more rigorous testing and regulations because some of these products could be harmful. Well, heck, we know that they're not harmful, and we know that they're not negatively impacting us. But that's just me sharing a little bit about what I've heard, what the chatter is, what some of the things are, and that companies have 2 years to comply.
That's insane. And it's clearly nothing about that feels like it's for the people.
No.
Everything about it feels like a control agenda to me. I'm what's the excuse they're telling people for why they're doing it? What is the justification they're trying to give to this?
Well, it's all about risk. So they're saying that it's not, the research and the regulations aren't hefty enough, and that there's too high of a risk for our safety. And so therefore we want to see things go to a standard of pharmaceutical grade. So therefore we have to raise the bar on all of this. So that's their reason, right? It's for your safety. We want pharmaceutical grade. We want to make sure the quality of everything is top notch. And it's the irony of it is, of course, is they just want to push big pharma. We know the playbook.
Right. And, oh gosh, it's just, that's so upsetting. I knew that the supplement part, I had no idea that they were also attacking natural products for the body. It feels, it just, there's nothing about that feels reasonable to me. It feels so extreme. And that's why I'm this has got to be part of the wake up scenario, because it's so extreme. To be oh, the toothpaste that you've been using that's been around and manufactured for over 60 plus years is suddenly very dangerous, right? We need to recheck this because this isn't healthy for you to use.
Yeah. Well, and you
That
know,
makes no
just
sense.
right. And then some other stats. So there's this really incredible website and it's called saveoursupplements.ca. And you can go and read all about this. They have like all kinds of interviews and media. And then they have like what this is, how it works, the impact it's going to have. And you can actually sign a petition and you can contact your local MLA member of parliament as well. And like each voice matters. Like, I think we should all be writing manual letters and like flooding the parliament, like overwhelming the crap out of them. But essentially 76% of brands say there's a very high chance they will need to pull product from the market as a result of these regulations. That's 76%. That's insane. 1 in 5 companies say they're seriously considering leaving the Canadian market. Exciting new products and international brands will likely not come to Canada because of the burden. And 66% of companies say it would have a negative impact on employment. Right. So there's a lot here. And I agree. It feels like a wake up. There's a couple things I got from this before. Number one, it's to show people like, hello, Health Canada is not in support of your health at all. This is ridiculous. Like, you're not going to be able to access your supplements and or pay through the roof. Like, hello, do you really see, like, follow the money? I feel like there's the pull to that. The other thing that came up, and not with the brands that I know, because there's a lot of local brands like that I really like that grow everything in Canada. It's all like, there's no junk in it. But then I'm like, and we can ask the cards, but is there some like play in this to maybe clear out some of the companies that are not producing good quality supplements? But then I'm like, it's the bigger companies that have the money to pay for all this updated regulation that are not going to go so impacted. It's the smaller companies producing the higher quality product that are going to be more impacted because they don't have as much of the money to pay to do all of this. So then I'm like, I don't know what what the intent is for the white hats and what it is, but maybe we can ask.
What I get as you said that, because my team was dropping in, they're like, first of all, the nightmare scenario is the plan. Scare you awake, right? It's for your own good. Yeah. Wake up, see what's happening. The other plan, the nefarious part, if that were real and to truly go through, it would be to destroy small businesses.
Yeah.
So that you are consolidating power, right? You're consolidating access, really is what it is, to these products. It's definitely not for the positive purpose of weeding out like companies who are like just trying to get money out of, that game. It's not for that, because those people are the big those are the big people. And we know this because we talked about this a while ago, right? But there's these bigger brands that buy the organic brands, and it's really shocking, right? So like, Burt's Bees was bought by Clorox, and all these supplements are bought by Clorox and other brands. Like, you don't think of supplements when you think of bleach. They feel like they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was definitely a power consolidation grab. Now, really quick, just for me to clarify, is Canada on like a socialist medical system, like, social medical care?
What is that?
I mean that, instead of having private healthcare, it's social. So it's like, if you want to go to a doctor, the government covers it, but it takes you 3 months to get an appointment.
Yeah. So we have public healthcare. So essentially certain things are covered by, the government or whatever. So if you need to go see your doctor, or say when I had to go get my appendix out, right, needed surgery, like those things are covered. I find wait times are not necessarily that long for a doctor's appointment, but for instance, my dad wanted to go and get an MRI or CT scan for a ear thing that's going on, and they can't get him in until January unless you want to pay privately. So there is really long wait times for certain tests and things like that, even blood work. And I know they were going to open up more appointments, but it's definitely like laggy.
So I feel like the reason I ask is because my team's pointing out that this is one way to point out kind of globally to why a public or a socialist healthcare system isn't. It sounds good on paper. It sounds great. Like, everybody's going to get taken care of, but it doesn't end up being this way. It ends up being, you have less alternatives. The prices for things go higher because of the way it's structured. And really, I mean, you got to remember too, is somebody's footing the bill for all of this. There's still money that has to change hands. And when that happens, then you have like, you get less options. The more control that they have, the less options they have. And so this is sort of one way of illustrating how something that sounds good, that sounds fair, that sounds like it would be supporting people is actually slowly conglomerating and taking away the options and the freedom that you have now. It's actually quite restrictive. To the point where, a scary scenario like this is there are no alternative health options. So if you're trying to be healthier, it's like, if you want healthy deodorant in this scenario, if it were something that were truly going to take hold, and let's say you couldn't get deodorant for like less than, $100 a stick, then you might have to be like, F it, I have to make my own. And then you get creative and you learn how to do it, because you're going to be the only other option.
Totally. It's true. It's like, I'm going to have to make my own, and I'm going to have to get someone to send me some from somewhere else. Right. Because and that's essentially,
you're going to have to get contraband.
Just not going to wear any, and we're all just going to smell. So it's a very interesting circumstance. Obviously, all of the stores and things are very concerned. And it's funny because when I leave the store now, when I'm leaving the health food store, I'm like, I'm pretty sure the whole government's going to get arrested before this happens. And they kind of look at me and they're like, you think so? And I'm like, it's okay. You don't see the way I do, but like, I just have faith, and like, we'll see what happens. But I just feel like, before these 2 years are up, and I hope these companies wait a little while and don't like give their money right now, and maybe prolong giving in and complying, because I'm really fingers crossed that like a lot of stuff goes down in the next few months and year, and that's just not even going to be a thing, and it's just part of the movie, right?
That's what, first of all, you can help manifest that, right?
Yes.
That this is not going all the way, right? So we have the power. So we have to remember, this is one of those things where it's so simple, but it's easy to forget because you're having a very physical experience.
Totally.
But we are like maybe 1 to 5% of matter-based being, and the rest of it is frequency. We're more frequency than matter. And so when they say mind over matter, or create it with your mind, that's really a powerful statement, because most of you is a frequency. You're sending out a signal, right? And this thing that they're talking about, it hasn't happened yet. They're talking about how they want it to happen, and they want you to believe it's real. In fact, by telling you ahead of time, you're going to use your mind, if you're not paying attention, to help them build it. That's why they talk about it and they put it out there. It's not a solid thing yet. So if you think about these frequency waves being generated, and you're in a state where you are really concentrating your energy, you're raising your frequency, because the highest frequency is always the most powerful. And then you are sending it out. This is not happening. I don't consent to it. I see instead this thing falls apart. It like dies before it gets through the door. Like that's how I'm choosing to view it. Well, imagine this really powerful rippling wave meeting another rippling wave. The one that's got the more juice, right, is going to affect the other one. They're going to interact with each other. And it's going to create a shift of some sort. And we saw this actually with the mandates that were going on when we were all going through the COVID stuff. We saw people pushing back, and it really does have this ripple effect. And so I say this only because I want you all to remember how powerful you are. And even if you're like, I wrote the letter, that's great. And I support the shops that make this, that's even better. And I've decided that this isn't happening. I reject this decision or this plan. I reject it fully.
Totally.
And in doing all of those things, you have a natural power that you're emitting when you do that.
I agree 100%. It is, we are so powerful, far beyond what we know. We got a comment. Shall we take a break in taking supplements? You could. I know in the last year, through ascension symptoms, like about half of the supplements that I was taking this time last year, I don't need, and nor do I take anymore, because my body went through all kinds of funky stuff in the fall last year. And my body's just like, I don't want that. Don't give that to me anymore. And so, and at the same time, it's still nice to know that I have, you know, certain things if I need them, right? So I know the more we raise in frequency and the more we remember our power, I don't think we're going to need them at some point. And at the same time, I feel like they're still going to be helpful for now until the solar flash or until whatever happens, right? Like it's nice to have that support to support our nervous systems through everything going on and like, you know, good health and well-being. So food for thought, use your intuition. Does it feel good to take a break from them and see what happens? You can totally check in on that.
And you can always use your pendulum. And what you would do is you'd write your name on a slip of paper, and then you'd write the name of the supplement. So let's say you take, I don't know, sometimes I take a lot, but let's say you take like 12 supplements a day, which you'd write down each supplement's name on a different slip of paper. Right. And you put the 2 pieces of paper like on, I use the kitchen counter, put them across from each other, and I leave a space about this big. And then you hold your pendulum in that open space between them. And if the pendulum points between you and the supplement, that's letting you know that this is a good match. This is a one you need. But if it goes vertically between the two, that's saying you don't need it. So if you're in a place where you're like, I'm not sure if I can get this many, or the price has gone up or something like that, you can do an energy test and see, you know, is it a necessary supplement? Because sometimes it's boosting you and it's giving you good things, but maybe you don't actually need that as much as you might need another.
Totally. Agreed. Well, why don't we dive into some cards? Because I have some questions.
Yeah.
I really do. I have some questions for the universe.
Okay.
So my first question is, aside from like it being part of like the nightmare to wake people up, is there any other intent behind this? Like, or is that fully it?
Okay.
Wind just picked up.
Oh, they're like trying to get your attention. They're saying change is a coming. Let's see what they say to me.
There's been hawks flying over our house and our area for the last few days. And that's about like change and focus and like trust and intuition and strengthening your clairvoyance. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, it really is the nightmare scenario. So this grueling looking, like she's so freaky looking. She's got a crown of eyes with like blood coming out of it. It's the Princess of Swords, which in the traditional deck, she would be considered a page. So it's a message to let you know the unpleasantness that they haven't. It's a shocking, unpleasant situation, just like being confronted with a nightmare character in a dream. Like, imagine if this chick showed up and, you know, like she's got her eyeball crown with blood all over her and she's got a sword, you'd be scared.
Yeah.
And that really is to get your mind to snap out of it is really what it is. So whenever we're dealing with swords, we know it doesn't have weight to it, right? Swords represent the element of air. Air is words, air is thought. But there's actually nothing behind it. You know what I mean? But enough of a threat to get you to sit up and pay attention and go, what the hell are you doing? Like, what, why?
Yeah.
Why does this need to stop? You know what I mean? So, it purely is that. There's no other intent behind it other than to get you to look at it and pay attention. Like, what are you doing? And why is it that this medicine is dangerous, but an experimental drug that no one's used and we don't have enough data on is safe? Like, it's supposed to make you go, where am I? I'm in the upside down right now. That's where I am, because this is not normal and kosher. And it's meant to, again, antagonize you almost to get you to pay attention to it. And it's I mean, like, did it antagonize you? Did it upset you? Now I know you're awake, but still
totally
still it worked. And that was the reason behind it.
Yeah. And so then my next question is, will we actually see the full implementation of these regulations, or will phase 2 of the awakening occur first?
Okay, let's find out. Okay.
That was a quick one.
Nope, you won't. Okay. So what I get with this, so now another sword coming in. This, instead of the princess, now we have the queen, but she's coming in the upright position. So Queen of Swords in the upright position represents fairness and represents justice. So it won't go through all the way, because this character in this position represents a just person who is looking at all the data and all the information and seeing it with an objective eye, and not being driven by an agenda or misled or mean. She's not mean, she's fair. In fact, she's very closely connected to justice, the card justice in the tarot deck, which represents, the blinded, she's got the blindfold on, she's got her scales and her sword, the sword of truth, and it is the sword of the mind and fairness. So using the sharp, critical thinking mind, and being objective about it. So what I see is that fairness will prevail. So what is fair to all will actually be what prevails. It will not be an agenda that goes all the way. She actually represents, in a way, she represents going to court. So I wouldn't be surprised if some legal issue rises at the end and is like, oh, this isn't legal, like you can't do this. So I do get that there's they keep saying yes to the court. So some kind of legal, somebody's going to bring it forward. Maybe it's the group that you were talking about, Save Our Supplements. Maybe they get their legal case, but I hear that it's going to be fairly heard. But I also get the feeling like this is a step, or they're showing me a stack. This is just one part of the stack to get you guys to go, this is corrupt. Like I thought it was corrupt before, or I thought maybe, I just didn't like this guy or parliament or whatever. And you're like, no, this is straight up corrupt. This is a plan to basically put you guys in a CCP situation. You know what I mean? Like that locked down.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I know a lot of even the supplement companies, and this specific, the company that created this website, the Save Our Supplements, they are essentially the biggest natural, organic, and wellness industry voice in the country. And they essentially, how every year there's these big trade shows where you can go and you can sample supplements and healthy foods and products.
Right.
This is essentially the Canadian version of this, that Canadian Health Food Association. They host these shows all over the country. It's how a lot of products get their exposure, regardless of if it's a food, a supplement, etc. And so they have a lot of backing. Like every company associated with them is obviously standing with this, as are others. So that is really good to hear. I really like what you just shared. And
but I wouldn't lean on it. So again,
for sure, we've got to all stand up and do our part.
Fight 100%. Back, you want to fight back. You want to make your stand, make your voice heard, support the businesses, support the organizations, because it's the power of the people that moves it forward, right? So if we act complacent to it, or oh, someone will fix it, then we're basically kind of saying, it's fine, whatever you're doing is fine, I don't care, it doesn't affect me. It's the fact that people are, it's kind of like the trucker thing again. It's just a different angle to take, but it's come together on the things that matter to you. And there really are, again, as part of the wake you up scenario, they're going to poke at the things that matter to you. They're also going to poke at the people who are complacent or using the agreeableness. So if you're high in agreeableness and you're like, oh, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and I guess, we should just do that since that makes you comfortable. When you're high in agreeableness, you tend to get steamrolled by psychopaths. That's just how it is. And what they're trying to do is awaken the bear or the lion in people. Really, it's the lion. They're trying to awaken this lion in people where you have a boundary. There is a point that no one should cross. And if you're not willing to stay, if you're just going to let everybody's agenda steamroll you, what ends up happening is we have no societal boundaries. And that's really what happened here in all these situations is, you're so nice, you're so kind, and this is great, but it was seen as a weakness in you, and it will be taken advantage of like a weakness in you. And so this nightmare is meant to get you to wake up and be like, whoa, I have a boundary. No, no. We don't go that far. Right.
I agree. And I feel like maybe next week, we'll see if something else lands, but maybe we could talk more about like the wake up in compliance and like what you said earlier about like your tolerance and leniency is a great way. I love what you said about psychopaths, like steamrolling. Like, I think we need to have that conversation because it's very valid and so much has been put on us through fear. And I think it's an important conversation to have and in the mindset because it's everything.
There's one of your people actually talks about it really succinctly, and that's Jordan Peterson, who I know it's like you love him, you hate him. And I know he's a figure that creates a lot of controversy, but if you actually listen to the guy and what he's talking about, he's got such a solid head on his shoulders. But he's the one who talked about how so psychopathic people in society, they make up between 2 to 5%. And so it's an average of 3% of society is psychopathic, which is unfortunate, but there it is. The more agreeable the society is, the more that percentage of psychopathic tendencies grows because there is no disagreeable people or critical or people who push back and say, that's weird, stop it. Like, why are you doing this? And when we don't have that activated, when we don't have enough disagreeable people, and that doesn't mean bad, it just means people who question, they don't go along with it, they want to know why you're doing this. When we don't have enough of those, it's like we've lost a gatekeeper or the protection to society in general, and psychopaths run rampant. Now look at the state of the world and look at what we're being told. Be kind, be nice, be tolerant, like be so flexible, think about other people. And these are good values. I'm not saying they're not, but when they are the dominant message, and it's like, if you complain, you're a Karen, or if you don't do this, then you're anti this or anti that, right? That's meant to subdue the critical thinking. It's meant to subdue and lower the gate. And when you lower the gate, the psychopaths run the show. And what do we have in Canada? What do we have in the United States? What do we have in China? Like, what do we have in this country? It's like the psychopaths have run the group.
My gosh. Yeah.
And the way to stem that off, or the way to lower that percentage down, is to be disagreeable or at least appreciate those who are disagreeable in society, because they're actually working for the benefit of the group and not against it.
Totally. No, well said. I think that would be a great topic for us to talk about more next week, maybe. So I have one more question. What guidance does the universe have for us on this circumstance? And whether it's us, the consumer, or it's a business owner of a supplement company.
Okay. Let's ask them, what guidance would you have, team, for people when it comes to, their health freedom? I mean, this is a bigger question, because I think the next topic should be talking about how they're trying to bring certain agendas back. So this kind of goes for the supplement thing, but I'm also feeling it just for in general. Totally. So, what guidance do you have for us to, okay, got a couple things. They're like, well, here's a handful of cards. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, number one, they keep bringing this one up every time I ask, like, in general, how's it going to go? They're like, every little thing's going to be all right. Like, you have a protection around you. This card, even in the reverse position, is so positive. It can't be negative. It's good both ways. And that's what I love about it. But this is like, be calm, be cool. Know that we're around you. We're protecting you. You guys are the ground crew. We are the ground crew. We came here to do the thing, but we are fully supported energetically. There's nothing that could happen to you that's so bad. It really can't. So the other thing is to just be mindful of letting emotions take over you. So here's the Queen of Cups in the reverse position. You know, in the upright position, she's very intuitive and psychically in tune, and she's in the flow. But when she's in this state, it's overwhelmed. She's overwhelmed with emotion. Whatever's coming at her is drowning her literally. And her thing is avoidance. I can't look at it anymore. I don't want to engage with it. I'm just gonna I'm gonna block it out. I'm going to stick my head in the ground because I can't deal with it because she's triggered emotionally. So we want to remind ourselves that place yourself in your protective bubble at all time. Know that there's a bigger protective bubble around us as well. Yes, the psychopaths are hanging out, but remember that they really are, you know, the big ones are less than 1%, number one. Number two, in society in general, like in the bigger picture, they only make up 5%. So we are predominantly a good species. We are good beings. We really are beautiful. And so the thing is like, have faith in humanity. Believe that more are seeing this. They're awake. They want to know how. They don't want to go through the BS again. We're not doing it. And this BS that they're talking about here, we're not doing it. And it only works if you just acquiesce and say, okay, I guess you win. That's what they want you to do. They want you to believe they have all the power. But remember that meme? We've seen it from time to time, and it shows a guy with a whip at the front and all these people. And they're all like cowering down. And then one of them looks up and goes, wait, it's one guy with a whip. And he stands up, and then the rest stand up. And then pretty soon they're all standing up. And then the guy with the whip is cowering. That's where we are. We are at the point now where multiple people are standing up, and most of us are on our feet looking at this and going, you're one dude, or you're one small thing compared to us. So we really are at the point of like a really great shift. Do not let this, they're going to trigger you emotionally. They're going to scare the crap out of you. We'll talk about that in future episodes. It's an illusion. It is a nightmare induced to get you to see it and not to just scare you for no reason, but really to get you to stand up on your feet and go, no,
exactly.
Nuts. No.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. This is so empowering. And I hope this is why I love doing this with you, because it's so uplifting and empowering and encouraging to remind you of your power and your sovereignty, and that we all matter and we all have a big role to play on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. You're more powerful than you realize. And if you kind of look at it like a dream or a movie, it helps you detach emotionally a little bit from it. It doesn't mean you don't take action and you don't stand up where you feel you need to. It just means don't let, like if we were in the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, it's still a movie. It's still fake. You know what I mean? You don't have to get scared that that's really coming for you. It's not. And you take your power back by remembering, wait a minute, I don't want to participate, so I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. I don't consent.
Right.
Amazing. Well, that was very helpful. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, just if you would like to do a personal reading with me, or you just want to hear more about events that are going on, you can do two things. You can visit blythestarlight.com and check out my offerings there. Or you can go to my Blythe Starlight YouTube channel, where I dig into topics like this, like we've done different topics like this before, or hear what's happening in energy for the week, because I do weekly karma card readings, and those are always really fun and uplifting too.
Your karma cards last week was so fitting and so resonant. You all have to definitely go subscribe and check it out, because they're amazing. Thank you so much for all that you do, Therese.
Thank you. And how about you, Amber? Like, how can we reach you?
Yeah. So if you want support with your hormones, your bloating, your emotional eating, your cravings, and you're like, oh, is there other things other than supplements that we can also do to help aid in the healing? There's so much mindset, energy, and other physical, environmental work that we can do to help you with your healing. And we can add some supplements into, so you can check out the podcast, the bookings, everything below, as well as all of Therese's details are below as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have a topic idea, feel free to leave your ideas in the comments. Otherwise, Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, it's been a pleasure. Take care.
Bye.